Greetings viewers, my name is Abdullah Ali and I am a grade 12 student at Clifton College. I am ashamed to say that I live in the rape capital of the world. On average, 85 murders are committed every day in my country, 110 people are made victims of violent robbery, yet I am still proud to call myself a South African. From the comfort of my own home and safeguarded suburb, I can spend ages commenting on the atrocities committed in South Africa on a daily basis, but that would achieve nothing. Today we will delve into a critical area of our society that requires urgent reform, the South African Police Service, more commonly known as SAPS, and its role in combating crime in South Africa. This video will explore the current challenges faced by SAPS, the historical context of its development, and propose a revolutionary approach to reforming this essential institution. Knowing the historical background is needed to understand why reform is necessary for SAPS. SAPS was established in 1913 and from there to the present has been subjected to several changes. Apartheid officers were made to do the dirty work of their regime. A prime example of this is the Sharpeville massacre. No matter how many changes had been made, SAPS had always been a victim of its failure to control crime and to inspire confidence within the public. If the road that SAPS followed is known, then there's also a possibility of properly identifying the deficiencies in the organization at the present time. In 1995, SAPS as present was established, but while apartheid was in full swing, its legacy was carved. The result was the legacy of mistrust on the South African organization and many institutional deficiencies. But the attempted changes were frustrated because systematic corruption and deficient training characterized the organization in the apartheid era. As part of workable reform plans, there is therefore a need to understand these past and present challenges. As part of recent reports, South Africa continues to grapple with high crime rates, including violent crimes such as murder and armed robbery. The need for an effective and reformed police service is more urgent than ever. 1. Corruption and mismanagement. Different investigations and media reports have unmasked numerous bribery, nepotism, and misappropriation of funds in SAPS. For instance, in 2021, the Corruption Perception Index conducted by Transparency International, South Africa was ranked 70 out of 110 countries, meaning that there was a high incidence of corruption in the country's public sector. The spread of corruption within SAPS results in diminished efficiency of the police work and undermines the confidence of the public in the police department. The Zondo Commission, to investigate state capture, found many situations where officials of SAPS were involved in corrupt practices. Nearly 49% of South Africans believe that most or all of police office officials were corrupt, according to the Afrobarometer survey conducted in 2020. Just a few examples. The alleged wrongful actions of Eastern Cape police members could end up costing the state a whopping 7.5 billion rand in civil claims. On top of that, more than 2 billion rand in compensating civil claims related to wrongful arrests and detentions since 2018. Money that has come from taxpayers. 2. Resource constraints. The significant drawback that affects effective policing is the lack of resources and outdated equipment. SAPS has been in perennial suffering due to the budget reductions and inadequate resources. This makes it less effective in the operational approach. The police stations in the entire country constantly note the lack of basic supplies like vehicles, forensic equipment, and communication tools. Besides, poor infrastructure in many police stations also affect rapid and effective responses to crime. A report released by the Institute of Security Studies in 2019 showed that only 53% of police stations had access to functioning vehicles, and many of them were in poor condition. Such resource weakness has worsened by the 3.6% cut in the SAPS budget for the 2021-2022 financial year. Examples include officers working in the rural setting who sometimes need to use their own money for fuel to patrol or have no choice but use their mobile phones for communication purposes since none of the radios work. Training programs that are not adequate fail to equip an officer with necessary skills. Lacking proper training in both duration and contents, this is always the Achilles heel for most SAPS members. The lack of continuous professional development means that officers are not kept abreast to the latest trends in policing techniques or the latest legal changes. About 70% of SAPS members, according to South African Police Union, had not received any form of professional development training in the last 5 years. Their inability to properly work crime scenes or to collect evidence has resulted in many cases being thrown out of court due to procedural errors. only 10% of cases brought forward by SAPS eventually lead to prosecution. Additionally, lack of specialized training on issues such as cybercrime and gender-based violence does not make the SAPS effective in fighting these newly emergent issues. 3. Community relations. The lack of community engagement and trust continues to exacerbate the tension. There is a big disconnect between SAPS and the communities they serve. In the apartheid years, when police were known for their violence and regression, the memory of that has not gone away and still affects the community view of and contact with the police, as has been the case with incidents of police brutality and corruption. A survey done by the Human Science Research Council in 2020 found that only 32% of South Africans trusted the police, significantly dipping from previous years. Complaints of police misconduct in 2020, according to figures from the Independent Police Investigative Directorate, ran into over 5,000 cases. High-profile incidents such as the Marikana massacre in 2012 and the death of Maidu Masia, a Mozambican taxi driver who was dragged behind a police van in 2013, have highlighted the severe consequences of poor community police relations. Although concepts like CPFs are in existence, their efficiency is often hampered by mutual distrust and a lack of genuine engagement by both parties. As South Africa is the world's most unequal country, this is split into two opposing categories. Those minority white and Indians with resources and the impoverished black majority communities. Let's examine the contrast in the following videos.
These farmers are taking matters into their own hands. They're part of a pressure group called AfriForum, who campaign on behalf of Afrikaners. They have more than 300,000 members nationwide.
So now we're basically just regrouping, making sure everybody's here, making it counted for everyone. There's one or two new guys who haven't done this route. Okay.
Ons span gaan afgelaai word deur Bernie. Nee, dan gaan ons woon toe en dan gaan ons deur 'n paar plase waar weer die drade is geknip en so. En van daar af gaan ons die drone bietjie opstuur en net kyk wat aangaan.
Crime problem cuts across all racial and ethnic lines. 60 kilometers down the road, another volunteer patrol is about to set off. We're in Diepsloot, a township on the outskirts of Johannesburg. So what are you expecting to do tonight?
We're going to the ground. We're going to do stop and search inside the township. Whoever we meet with during the night, we have to search that person.
What are you searching for?
The weapons that they might be having. Guns, knives. People are scared in township. Who's next? Who's going to die?
What are some of the dangers you're likely to face on a night like tonight?
Diepsloot is in the hand of the criminals. And we know that once they found out who are patrolling here, we will be a target. And we are ready for that, and we will fight against the crime that is in Diepsloot.
The methods shown above are unsustainable and are merely smearing over the cracks of a much larger issue. There are more than 2.7 million registered private security officers in the country, according to Private Security Industry, making South Africa's security industry one of the largest in the world. That compares with the fewer than 150,000 police officers for the country's 62 million people. Private security personnel outnumber police officers by 18 to 1. The average South African cannot afford to fork out between 10 and 20,000 rand per month for private security. This is simply unfeasible, and there has to be a better solution. To address these challenges, a comprehensive reform strategy is necessary. Key proposals include 1. Firing Bheki Cele. Would anyone trust a pilot who has never flown a plane before? Bheki has never served in the SAPS, and the one time he was involved as a National Commissioner of the South African Police Service for 2 years until misconduct allegations led to his suspension in October of 2011 and therefore his removal. Here are the steps to dismiss Bheki. 1. We have a transparent process. Make the process of removal transparent, legal, and constitutional in order to tread the path into political stability and public trust. 2. Public communication. Communicate the reasons for his removal from office clearly to the public and emphasize that reform shall be committed to with safety improved. 3. Criteria for new leadership. Candidate with good past history of integrity and ethical behavior, highly experienced in handling community policing and modern crime fighting, the ability to provide a clear vision for SAPS reform and the earlier successes achieved in then leading such processes, strong community engagement skills and relations with the stakeholders to rebuild their trust and cooperation with the police. Establish a selection committee to be constituted of appropriate representation from government, civil society, and law enforcement experts. It will be better if members involve the public in public forums or through surveys to air their opinions on the qualities and priorities that should be according to the new police command. There is a need for thorough background checks and vetting before a candidate can said to have met the sustainability and commitment to the agenda of reform. 2. Decentralizing the structure. The current structure of SAPS is hierarchical, with national, provincial, and local divisions. SAPS is currently under the control of the ANC national government, which manages the policing budget. It is the control of the ANC national government that influences the number of police officers in every province, the number of police vehicles, and the availability of the police stations in communities. Research shows that for effective crime fighting, there must be one police officer for every 220 members of the public. In South Africa, the average is one officer to 430 people. And in the Alexandra police station in Johannesburg, one station serves more than 700,000 people. This model of policing is old and has failed the people it intends to serve in South Africa. To do this, we need to decentralize the police service. National policing powers must devolve to competent local government. A trusted local police service is a must, close to the community for proper protection and service. We must enhance neighborhood watches, NGOs, and private security. We need to extend the powers of local law enforcement officers. There has to be some sort of gelling and cohesion. 3. Anti-corruption measures. The creation of independent bodies of oversight with the task of investigating and prosecuting cases that involve the corruption of SAPS. How SAPS spends its money in the form of quarterly financial audits. There is no doubt about the fact that there is an internal power struggle. On one hand, we hear that SAPS needs more money. On the other hand, we know that SAPS spends an eye-watering 1 billion rand per year on the salaries of major generals and brigaders. As seen in clips shown earlier, organizations like AfriForum have taken a vigilante approach to crime prevention in South Africa. But when does this end? Who is there to regulate them? Policing is a contentious topic around the world, as no system has gotten it completely correct. But here are a few examples of where countries have implemented successful strategies that South Africa can adopt. Hotspot policing. This strategy focuses on identifying and targeting specific areas where crime is concentrated. By allocating more resources and increasing police presence in these hotspots, law enforcement can effectively reduce crime rates. Cities like New York and Chicago have seen positive results from this approach. Koban systems in Japan. The Koban system is a community-based policing model characterized by small neighborhood police stations known as Kobans. Officers in Kobans are directly involved in a variety of community activities, including foot patrols, community meetings, and safety education. This close engagement fosters trust and allows police to quickly respond to local issues. Japan consistently reports low crime rates, and the Koban system is credited with contributing to the country's high levels of public safety and trust in the police. Realization of the above reforms will be effective only if worked within a phased approach. The immediate, like anti-corruption audits, mid-term, like training overhauls, and the long-term, technological upgrades and so forth. The part played by the government, civil society, and international partners is huge. Let us work together and we will see a much safer South Africa, and people will eventually start trusting the police. In conclusion, the reforming of SAPS is not a governmental responsibility, but a collective one in which all stakeholders are accountable. For every learned youth in the land of South Africa, it was always said to me that one should leave this country. I am very much set back on the idea of my belief, which lies within the potential of this country, and I'm quite resolute to stay and make a difference. With advocacy and boosting initiatives towards these reforms, we shall arrive at a much safer and more secure South Africa.